NBA season high of 64. Joel was 61. Make it 63.
The Philadelphia 76ers can put their championship hopes to rest. Entering the 2024-25 season, the Sixers were supposed to be one of the favorites to challenge the Boston Celtics for Eastern Conference supremacy. Instead, it's back to the drawing board for them. But how did it get to this point? Well, let's look at things from the beginning. Ever since Joel Embiid broke out as a legitimate superstar, the Philadelphia 76ers have had championship aspirations. They believe that the process was already complete when Embiid turned into the most unstoppable scoring center in the NBA. But things haven't been working out for this team because the Sixers haven't gotten out of the second round of the playoffs during the Embiid era. What makes it worse is that Embiid tends to struggle during the postseason. In fact, the previous 2 years, Embiid was unstoppable during the regular season, leading everyone in points per game and proving that he was the complete package as far as centers were concerned. He was the MVP in 2023. Meanwhile, he could have also been the MVP in 2024 had it not been for the games he missed. Nevertheless, the Sixers thought they could get to the promised land with their franchise star putting up great numbers during the regular season.
Minute to go. Two-man game, Maxey and Embiid. Joel, the scoop, and score!
Unfortunately, they just couldn't get over the hump those past 2 years despite the team's talent. They had James Harden during the 2023 playoff run, only for them to fall short. Last season, things were clicking for this team, only for the players to once again struggle during the postseason. All those failures eventually led to a massive move during the 2024 offseason as the Sixers completed a big acquisition by signing Paul George. Moreover, Embiid also made a bold declaration during the offseason. He wanted to prioritize staying healthy in time for the playoffs. He realized that his injuries and the wear and tear on his body tend to take their toll in time for the postseason, making it harder for the Sixers to make a deep run. That was why the team acquired George in the first place, as he could alleviate pressure off of Embiid and allow him to play with less effort during the regular season. The PG acquisition and Embiid's newfound focus on his health allowed people to think that maybe this was finally the year for the Sixers.
George with a rebound. 13 minutes, 5 points.
With a third star on that team and Embiid healthy, this team could potentially make a deep run. Some analysts and experts even thought that the Sixers were in a good position to challenge the Boston Celtics in the East. This is, of course, if this team could even make the playoffs. The fact of the matter is that the Philadelphia 76ers were downright bad the entire 2024-25 season. They didn't look half as good as the team everyone thought they would be before the year started. Well, if you look at this team, there are a ton of reasons why the Sixers haven't been playing well. The first thing that pops out is the injury situation on this squad. It goes without saying that Joel Embiid is prone to injuries. He hasn't played more than 70 games his entire career and always has a reason to miss games, whether it's an injured knee, an illness, or some sort of ailment that requires rest. But the thing is that while he hasn't been healthy his entire career, the Sixers did well with him sitting out games. This makes you wonder why it's only now that this team started struggling without Embiid being available. This is where the Paul George situation comes in. As good as PG may be, he's also injury-prone. The reason why the Los Angeles Clippers couldn't win during the Kawhi Leonard and Paul George era was the fact that the stars were almost always injured. While PG preserved himself well last season, the injury bug came biting back this season, as he's missed his fair share of games. On top of that, George hasn't even been playing well. He looks like a shell of his former self. Age and wear and tear have caught up to him at 34 years old, and it's unlikely that he'll ever return to stellar form because he was shooting blanks and could not take over when the Sixers needed him to. He's still a very good player, no doubt, but he's not worth $50 million a year at this point in his career. Even when they were available, Embiid and George were subpar in the games they've played, and it goes without saying that it might take until next season for us to see them playing well again. So, without the two veteran stars, the Sixers leaned heavily on Tyrese Maxey, who did his best Allen Iverson impression by chucking up a ton of shots.
Recently, that you're gonna wanna hear about. Tyrese Maxey gives the Sixers.
But that didn't work well because he got injured along the way while carrying the Sixers on his back. This isn't the same situation as last season when the Sixers stayed afloat even without Embiid for most of the season. Say what you want about him disappearing in big moments, but Tobias Harris was there for the team during the regular season when the Sixers superstar was injured. George and Maxey were supposed to fill in that role this season, but the injury bug got to them as well. Basically, this team no longer had any safety nets with its three main stars out. Even Jared McCain, who could have been Rookie of the Year, missed over a third of the season because of his injury. If you have a team whose best players are Gershon Yabusele, Kelly Oubre, and Justin Edwards, you're going nowhere. Even the addition of the surprisingly good Quentin Grimes didn't help them. In fact, because injuries were so bad, the Sixers fielded nearly 30 players the entire season. But injury problems aren't the only issues on this team. After starting the season 2-11, Maxey got so fed up that he reportedly called out the team's superstar. He reportedly told Embiid to stop being late for everything because it had a big impact on the team. And that's something Embiid is yet to realize. There's no doubt he's one of the best players in the world and is probably the most unstoppable scorer when he's completely healthy.
Way out near the three-point line. 5 to shoot. Embiid spins away from Tatum and hits the finish.
Embiid can dominate anyone on his best day. But the problem is that he's not really someone you'd call a good leader. His body language, demeanor, and personality tend to turn people off, as he's often ranked as one of the most hated players in the world. When he's not getting fouls called in his favor, he whines. When things don't go his way, he doesn't show effort on the floor. A lot of fans think he whined his way to his 2023 MVP, an award many thought should have been for Nikola Jokic. And he's thrown a few teammates under the bus a few times in the past. You want your leader to be dedicated and to set an example for the rest of the team. In Embiid's case, however, he wants special treatment. He wants the NBA to hand him his individual awards and free throws on a silver platter. He probably also wants the Sixers to let him do what he wants to do and to allow him to sit out games when he doesn't feel like reporting to work. So, being tardy to team practices and meetings seems to be consistent with his current reputation as someone who acts like he's entitled to everything he wants. You can't have a leader who shows up to work only when he wants to. You want your leader to be the guy setting the standard for everyone on the team instead of being the first to whine and get upset when things don't go his way. And because Maxey had to carry the team on his back due to Embiid's health issues, it was completely understandable why the young guard has been very frustrated with the things that are happening around him.
Can't be traced buckets, down 5. Maxey, the hesitation, the scoop, and the score!
It kind of looks like Maxey is this generation's Kobe, calling out the most talented big man in the league and telling him to be better and to do better. But unlike Shaq, Embiid loses his aggressiveness when times are tough. He seems to lack heart and championship dedication. Everything on this team starts and ends with Joel Embiid, and that means that the Sixers can only go as far as he can take them. But if he's injured, lacks motivation, and can't lead his team off the court, the Sixers aren't going to get too far in the near future. Even if Embiid comes back healthy next season, you'd still wonder if he has that fire in him to succeed. He acts like he's the best and that he needs to be a champion. But he doesn't have that killer instinct during the playoffs, especially when teams rough him up. Or maybe this would become a bad situation for the team next season, with Embiid wanting out of Philly to move to a different team with more championship-ready pieces. If you're the Sixers front office, that isn't really a bad idea because Embiid hasn't done anything for this franchise. But the front office isn't really free from blame. Remember that this team paid Paul George a boatload of money only for him to quickly regress. They already had Embiid, an injury-prone player, so there was no reason for them to sign George, who's also missed a lot of games throughout his career. What they needed was a healthy and proven secondary star behind Embiid instead of an injury-prone mid-30s player who isn't even a proven winner. And the role players they signed aren't even young guys, making it harder for the team to stay healthy. It's basically a mixed bag of things that the Sixers front office did and the problems surrounding Embiid's injuries and attitude. But at the end of the day, it looks like this team has to move on from Embiid because the process never worked out for both parties. Sure, he was their franchise superstar, but that championship window in Philly is all but closed unless he and the other core players recommit and start playing 70 games next season. Knowing Embiid and the Sixers' recent string of bad luck, that's probably impossible.